Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Good.
Good.
What's your name?
Dr. Tara Griffin.
Okay. Where do you work and what's your occupation?
I work for We Sage Health and Wellness, which is my business, and it's a counseling and consulting group practice. So I'm a therapist as well as a consultant, as well as a supervisor. I also work part time for the Masters of Counseling program at UAB.
Okay. So I'll be asking you questions about how has COVID-19 affected your job, your life, your personal life, and your friend's life, and etc.
Okay.
So I'll get started with how did you feel about COVID-19 when it first began?
Um, my initial thoughts about COVID-19 when it first began were that we meaning the United States have gone through several different epidemics in my lifetime, um, and typically these things there have been some things that have started here on our soil, but most of the time these things start overseas and they make their way to the United States, but we don't have a major outbreak like what we've had with coronavirus. And so
Mm-hmm.
I thought, okay, we have another outbreak going on, another epidemic, and it will probably reach the United States. And there'll be a couple people that will be affected by it, infected. And I figured it would probably stay in the larger state, in the larger cities, the metro cities where there's quite a bit of travel, international travel, because that's typically how diseases like this are spread. And so I figured, yeah, it'll touch us, but we'll breeze through it just like we breeze through other things in my lifetime.
So did you think that it was gonna be real, or you think that it was real or fake?
I thought that it was real for sure. No doubts about that. One of the things that had been floating around was just some conspiracy theories about whether or not it originated organically or whether it was man made as some type of warfare. And I typically don't buy into too many conspiracy theories. Now, listen, I do believe that the government does experiments. I don't just believe that, I know that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but did they make this? Was this man made? I don't know. I don't have an opinion about that. But
Mm-hmm.
I definitely know that it's real. I knew that it was real from day one. So,
Did you think that it was gonna reach the severity that it's at today?
no, I did not. The numbers that we have reached is, I just never thought that we get to where we are. I really didn't. I mean, this is the thing. When it first hit Italy and the numbers were bad, that was back in March, and I remember telling my husband that if it reaches the United States, like Italy just needs to shut the country down, and stop the spread. And they were talking about doing that. And I said, if it reaches the United States, the United States needs to close its borders just for a little while, and then shut down the country to stop the spread, and we could smother this thing. And so I feel like if we had been more proactive, we wouldn't have the numbers that we have. And I thought that we would have been more proactive. I thought that our government would have done a better job of regulating this situation, but they didn't.
Mm-hmm. Do you think people were taking it serious at first when it first came to the United States?
Yeah, I do. I think, well, the people that are in my circle, listen, I'm not saying that you have to be educated to get this, but the people that I work with, they're typically, have at least a master's degree, and some people have a doctorate, and so they're pretty educated. They're pretty um, clued in to what's going on in the world, and so the people that I affiliate with, yes, they took it serious. We started taking the necessary precautions. Um, what do I think about the average American? That's up for grabs because I really had more faith in the American people than what I have seen them exhibit over the last 9 to 12 months. So
Mm-hmm.
um, I, I think people probably took it serious in the beginning, but I think there's some COVID burnout, corona fatigue, pandemic fatigue going on, and so people are just getting tired of it. But I think for the most part, people, I think they tried to do the best they could in the beginning and tried to follow what was set in stone. I think it was a smaller percentage that did not do what they needed to do.
Mm-hmm. Did you have any family or friends infected by COVID-19?
Um, I haven't had any family members that I'm aware of that have been affected by, that have been infected by COVID-19. But I've definitely had some friends. And I've had, because I work with the public, I've had several clients or clients' family members that have tested positive.
Mm-hmm. What methods did they use to rid themselves of the sickness or the virus?
And I ask everybody this because I'm curious to know, like what works for people. And most people that have had it, just kind of use some over the counter medications. The people that I know that have gotten it didn't get it it wasn't a severe case.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really curious. I'm a curious person, and so I ask questions about, like, what were your symptoms? What type of medications did you use to treat it? Did you have to go to the doctor? Stuff like that. And because I'm wondering, what's the difference between a person who has a mild case and a person who ends up on a ventilator? Because I have clients who are in the medical profession, and they have patients. They have COVID patients. They have patients that have COVID and patients that have died from COVID. So
Mm-hmm.
that part of it is real too. It is very severe. But I'm so curious to know, what's the difference between the person who just gets a mild version of it, a cough, a slight fever. Like one of the ladies in my book club, her husband caught COVID, and he has fever, and he caught it way back when it first started, and he was okay. He ended up being okay. But most people that I know that catch it now have more like no sense of smell, no sense of taste, no appetite, fatigue, low energy. So,
Mm-hmm. Do you have any personal advice on how to avoid COVID-19?
well, what I do is I don't go anywhere. I have an office, and I don't see clients face to face. I see clients virtually, either telepsych or over the phone. And so I go to the grocery store, I go to doctor's appointments, and I have a small group of friends that I may see from time to time because I know that they are sheltering in place for the most part. They're basically doing the same things that I do, but I don't even hardly see them. So I just don't interact with the public. That's what I do. But I know everybody else doesn't have the leisure to do what I do. But
Mm-hmm.
I do think but the advice that I would give people is to not gather in large gatherings. Don't. That's how the spread, continues. And until people are willing to make a sacrifice to do this, the spread will continue. Even once we have the vaccine, we're still gonna, suffer a little bit longer because people are not willing to make a sacrifice. Just a little bit longer. Just double down just a little bit longer.
Mm-hmm. How did COVID-19 affect your plans for your summer and spring break?
So I had plans for my family to go to do something for spring break. What were you going for spring break? Maybe I didn't have plans for spring break. I had plans for the summer. We were supposed to have a family reunion, and then my son was graduating from college, and we were going to have a big family gathering at the lake. And there was something else that we were supposed to be. Oh, my husband and I were going to Italy. We were doing a Mediterranean cruise. So I had to cancel all of that, but I wasn't upset about it. I don't know. I'm pretty laid back and easygoing, and I don't get upset about stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because my thing is, if I live to see another day, I have another opportunity to do the same things that I could have done this past summer. So I don't get, really bent out of shape about that type of stuff. So that's how it affected it, but I didn't let it break me down. I've used my energy and time to do other things. I built my practice stronger and better. I got, more involved with providing mental health services to people virtually, not just here in the state of Alabama, but I started stretching myself beyond my state's borders. So I used my energy and time to do something still that was productive to keep me busy and keep me,
Mm-hmm.
creative.
How did COVID-19 affect your son's 2020 graduation and prom at his school?
Oh boy, he didn't have a prom, and he graduated, and they had a graduation ceremony, but it was a different type of ceremony than what we're used to having. It was definitely different from his brothers. He graduated, or the ceremony was done in stages, so it was like maybe, I don't know, maybe I don't know, like 50 students or whatever. But and we had it outside, in the football stadium, and we normally would have had like a family gathering, but what we did to celebrate him was have a graduation parade where we invited people to come by our house and just give him, some well wishes, and we had little snacks set up. It stormed that day, while we were outside trying to have the parade. It started raining and storming, and then we went inside and we did a Zoom call with the family, because we're the only ones that live here in Alabama. All of our family lives in Georgia, Florida, or elsewhere. And so that's what we did to celebrate him. So he didn't have a problem. And it's good that I have a son, because if I had a daughter, it probably would have been more challenging to convince her that it was okay. But he was okay with not having a prom, or so he said to me. He was okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the beauty of having boys, because they're kind of like, whatever, it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
matter.
What was your life like before COVID-19 versus after?
Oh boy, my life before COVID was very busy. I never had time to smell the roses. I didn't take a lot of time to smell the roses. I was working a full time job, running a practice, teaching part time. I was teaching for UAB and an online school, Grand Canyon. So I was busy, busy, busy. And still trying to be a mom and be a wife and be a sister and be a friend, and all the other different roles that we play in life. But now, since COVID, I don't work my full time job anymore. I work solely in my practice. I have slowed down tremendous amount, and I spend more time smelling the roses and
Mm-hmm.
taking care of myself, getting proper rest, and just loving on me.
Mm-hmm. How did COVID-19 affect the fall semester of school for you teaching at UAB?
So I normally teach on campus, brick and mortar, traditional courses, and this semester we're doing total virtual. And so that works for me, because I wanted to teach because I'm on contract, so I can accept an assignment or decline it. And so I wanted to accept the assignment, but I didn't want to be on campus, because UAB is a pretty large campus, and there's a lot of movement, and kids from all over the world attend school there. And so
Mm-hmm.
um, they told me um, that they were probably going to move the classes that I was going to teach to total virtual,
Mm-hmm.
and they did. They did, and so it's been fine for me. I try to, check in with my students on a regular basis to make sure they're doing okay, because this is different for them. And I taught online before. Like I said, I was teaching at another online university, or another university. I was teaching in their online program, I should say. And so I was kind of used to what an online classroom platform looked like. So it was okay for me to make that switch, to make that
Hmm.
adjustment.
So is it harder for you to teach traditionally, or virtually?
Mm, Now the way UAB has it set up, it's not much of a difference. When I taught for Grand Canyon, teaching online was horrible. It was hard. It wasn't. It was just time consuming, very time consuming. So I'm good teaching either way. So the way they have it set up is like there's not a lot of instructor student interaction. So it's all texting, all emailing, all discussion board type of stuff. But with UAB, I get to do some Zoom. And so because I get to do that, it makes it easier for me to do it because I still get to have that interaction with the student, which is what I enjoy the most. I don't
Mm-hmm.
like to just communicate via text and email, and that's a fine medium intermediately, but that's not how I want to communicate on a regular basis.
Yeah. Um. So, do you think that virtually, or you think that because there's a lot of students that chose to go to school, do you think that had a big reason and why cases have jumped up to where it did?
Do I think that students caused the corona cases to escalate?
Mm-hmm. With going
Mm,
to school.
I don't think so. I don't think it's solely the students. I think the average American is just not doing their part to keep things,
Mm-hmm.
keep the numbers down.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that that plays a role in it, but I would not say that that is the sole purpose or the sole reason that our
Mm-hmm.
numbers are where they are. I don't agree with that. Mm-mm.
Mm-hmm. So, how did COVID-19 affect fall sports and events that are usually held in the fall?
Um, well, I'll say for me, I forgot that it was football season.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, their games are still going on, but they're going on like, you know, some type of, I don't want to say hybrid, but they've used a different type of format to host their games now, and so it's different. It's different. But look, this is the way I see it. Life has challenges, and so we either rise to the occasion or we get taken out, and so it's like you have to make a decision about, is life important to you, or are these things, these external motivators, these external factors more important to you? And so, I'm sure that the people who don't have anything else to do in their life are upset because they can't watch sports the way they would like to. But to me, what I tell my clients is this is a time for you to go and explore and find some other interests,
Mm-hmm.
broaden your horizon. So it hasn't affected me, but it has affected other people.
Mm-hmm. Did COVID-19 affect your monthly income?
My monthly income, mm, not really. It's actually pretty much the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Um, with COVID-19, how do you like handle your business versus how you would have before COVID-19?
Right now I'm totally virtual. So what I would have done in the past was, I was already doing virtual clients in the past because I have clients throughout the state of Alabama. So I would have seen them virtually, and I would have seen the people that live locally face to face. But I don't do any face to face sessions now. So
Mm-hmm.
um, I see everybody virtually. So that's the main difference in how I run my business now.
Yeah. What safety precautions do you take with like keeping COVID-19 out of your house and everything?
Well, when it's just my husband and I here, it's easier. But when my sons come home, it makes it a little bit harder. And so I try to convince them to make sure that they wear a mask while they're out and don't engage in group activities. However, one's 26 and one's 18, and they kind of just do whatever they feel like doing. Um, and then here, I make sure we have masks and we have hand sanitizer and we have disinfectant spray and we have thermometers, and so we're checking ourselves periodically. Also, I try to make sure that we have access to immune system boosters like zinc and vitamin D and
Mm-hmm.
omega 3 and echinacea and things of that nature. So that's kind of how I do it. And so
Mm-hmm.
like I said, I work in the home, and so if anything comes in the house that doesn't, it's not coming because of me. It's coming because either my husband or my sons brought it here. So
Mm-hmm.
remember this, whoever's listening. If I ever get COVID, you know where it came from. It didn't come from me.
So do you think the government has a huge hand in how coronavirus is spreading?
I think so. Oh, excuse me. Now, of course, they cannot make people do anything. You know, there's only so much that they can make us do, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think there were things that they could have done to, you know, um, make sure that the spread was minimized. And part of that, I think, is, maybe we should have spent the whole first semester of school with kids at home. Um, we should have locked down the country a lot sooner. We should have put mask mandates in place a lot sooner. We should make sure we had appropriate PPE and things that for the front line to have. Make sure we have adequate masks. I mean, like, we knew this stuff was coming. That's my irritation with it all, is that we knew that it was coming, but we did nothing to prepare.
Mm-hmm.
And just to say that we're a power country and it's just gonna come and then it's gonna go, that is very that's just very naive, one, and it's very irresponsible. When you see, we're not some superhuman race here in the United States. Like, this stuff can't touch us and wipe us out like it has done in all the other countries. We're all made of the same thing, flesh
Mm-hmm.
and blood. And
Yeah.
so we should have acted as though we were made of the same thing and learned from what the other countries were experiencing and then done better. That's why it got here last. I mean, we had time to act smarter, but we
Mm-hmm.
didn't. So yeah, I think the government they have a limited role, but they have a role. They definitely have a role.
Mm-hmm. Do you think people has lost trust or faith in the government?
Yes, I do. Um I have. So it's just some of the things that I thought that they would have done that they didn't do, that were simple, and so it really makes me have doubt that. Well, under this administration, I will say that under a new administration that has a better understanding of politics, has a better understanding of how the government runs, and has a better understanding and compassion for all Americans and not some Americans.
Mm-hmm.
I could see that I would become more trusting again. I could become trusting again in the government.
Mm-hmm.
But under our current administration, no, I do not trust them. I will never trust them. And I can't wait for them to get out of office.
Mm-hmm. So there's supposed to be a vaccine handed out soon that
Hmm.
they're developing. Will you take the vaccine for COVID-19 as soon as there's one developed? Why or why not?
Yes, I will. And because um one, there's going to be 3 to 4 layers of people that get the vaccine, and I'm not one of the first 3 to 4 layers. So my thoughts are, by the time the vaccine gets to the average person, the everyday person like me, um, the medical professionals, the front line, the first responders, the immune compromised populations, would have had, and that we would have a better understanding. I hate to use them as guinea pigs, but they would have taken the virus. By the time it gets to available to everyday people like me, we will know more about the virus, and so I will be more than happy to take the immunization. And the way I see it also is, every immunization that we have that kids have to take to get into public school, that we had to take to travel, they were created for the same reasons that this one is being created, because there was some type of outbreak. Chickenpox, measles, um typhoid, like all those things came, all those immunizations were created because these diseases were wiping out populations. So the coronavirus immunization is no different,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion.
Yeah. So there's also a chip that's being put out that can like track if like they can track like diseases coming up and if you're
Hmm.
sick or not and like what like diseases you could have and all that.
Hmm.
Would you take that chip?
No.
Why or why not?
mm, I don't want any foreign objects put in my body. A chip.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know immunization is a foreign substance too, but I don't know that I want a chip inside of me. And I need to know more information about it before I would agree to do something like
Mm-hmm.
that. But off now, at this moment, no, I would not take a chip.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that it could be the mark of the beast? And uh do you think other people in the country would take it?
I think there are some people that would take it, absolutely, especially people who are IT savvy, who are innovative, tech set. Um, I don't know about it being the mark of the beast. It could be. I don't think we're gonna know those things until those things happen.
Mm-hmm. Um. So, do you think the 2020 election would have had or like, do you think it'll have a huge impact on COVID-19 if it gets worse or stays the same?
I don't understand that question.
So do you think that the 2020 election result will have a like based off of if Joe Biden, since Joe Biden has won
Hmm.
and Donald Trump has lost, do you
Hmm.
think that that'll have a big
Oh, do I
impact?
think that that will affect the numbers?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I think it will affect the numbers because I think this administration is going to take things more serious. And they're not, even if there isn't a whole lot that they can do, they're going to do what they can do
Mm-hmm.
versus saying, "Oh, you're a bunch of idiots. Why are you closing down the state? We're not locking down the state. We're not shutting down the economy. We're not da 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 da." But the thing about that is, if we don't do something about the disease, the economy is going to be shut down anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you take the biggest hit now and then recover, or do you take the biggest hit? Do you take small little hits along the way that can add up to one huge hit? And that's what our current administration is um, encouraging. It's
Mm-hmm.
like let's just ride it. Let's just ride the wave and see what it does, versus being more proactive and more preventive.
Mm-hmm. Do you know anybody who's lost their business or has had to like has lost their jobs or anything?
I don't know anybody personally that has lost their job. I'm sure I've had a client or two who's told me that they switched jobs or changed jobs because they were laid off, but they found something almost immediately.
Mm-hmm.
So they weren't without employment for long. So I don't know anybody who has been like destitute. Um, but I do know some people who had career changes or job changes
Yeah.
because their previous job ceased to exist or they laid off or whatever due to COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Um. Oh yeah. Do you
yeah.
think that we should continue giving out stimulus checks as a country, or do you think that we should stop giving out stimulus checks?
Well, I don't think we should give out any more stimulus checks this year. Um, I think that we should get a better idea of what we need to do moving forward, and before we give out any more money, so we'll know what we need to give out, how much we need to give out, and how many times we need to give it out. And um, I think it's better to find ways to reboot the economy. Um, and so, what I mean when I say that is, the monies that have been giving out, grants and things of that nature for small businesses, finding ways to keep those businesses in business so that they can keep their employees in business. And maybe we don't shut down these different we don't shut down the economy, but we just manage how many people can be involved, and
Mm-hmm.
shut down what's not essential, and then maybe we redefine the word is what essential means and looks like. So those are the things that we don't just say, okay, if non-essential businesses are closed, and that means that if you're not a grocery store, a drugstore, or medical, you're closed. No, maybe we rethink that and say, okay, we're going to close bars or this or that. That's like, you can drink at home, okay? You can drink at home, but things that you cannot get at home, maybe that's more what non-essential is. And I'm not saying any of this is what it is. I'm just saying that we sit down at the table and we play with the ideas, and we talk about the different
Mm-hmm.
ways that this can look, and what's gonna cause the least amount of downfall for the economy and for the American people. So I'm not saying we don't give any more stimulus checks. I'm just saying we don't give any more until we get a better lay of the land. Like, what are we doing? What are we dealing with? And what do we need to do? And then we give out money. We give out money in a meaningful way, not just, okay, here you go to pacify you, and then you're going to be taxed on that
Mm-hmm.
the following tax year. So,
Do you think taxes are gonna be raised a lot um after like COVID-19 and everything?
um, I hope that taxes are raised among the right people. So taxes are how we get things done, right?
Mm-hmm.
But me and people like me should not be paying the bulk of the taxes.
Mm-hmm.
People who make $400,000 and more should be paying the bulk of the taxes. They should not get the huge tax breaks. People like me should get the huge tax breaks because we're the ones that support the economy.
Mm-hmm.
We're the middle class, the working class. We make sure the poor get what they need, and we make sure the rich get what they need too, because at my levels where services are provided.
Mm-hmm.
So we are the ones who should get the biggest tax break. So I would love to see that happen. I say if we're going to raise taxes, raise them in the right tax bracket,
Mm-hmm.
not the people who are barely making it.
Yeah. So I got one last question,
Mm-hmm.
and that is, like, do you have any advice to anybody on what they can do to avoid COVID-19 and like stay immune to it? And do you have any advice for people that get infected by it?
So eat a good diet. I didn't say go on a diet, but eat a good diet. Make healthy food choices. Make sure you load your body up with all the pathogen fighting supplements that you can. So lots of vitamin D, vitamin E, vitamin A, vitamin C. Like, eat well, eat green foods, eat produce, eat less meat, get good protein, get lots of protein, but try to find protein from other sources as much as possible. Try to eat organic as much as possible. Stay out of fast food restaurants. Um, Take vitamins, exercise, get plenty of rest, limit your alcohol use, don't smoke, and don't use drugs. Make sure you stay connected with family and friends, whether via Zoom or phone calls, or, if you're going to do some stuff, go outside. It's kind of cold now, but parks, taking walks, going hiking, things like that are really good for you. Good for you emotionally, good for you physically, and just stay away from places that you don't need to go to. That you, if you don't have to be there, don't go.
Mm-hmm.
What was the other thing you asked?
Um, and any advice if
Oh, if
for
someone gets
people,
the
yeah, get
virus,
it, yeah.
again, do those same immune booster things like, drinking plenty of fluids, making sure you take care of yourself, make sure you get rest, um, and get treated as soon as you start to feel some symptoms, and follow your doctor's orders.
Okay. All right. Have a good day.
Thank you. You too.